Over the course of the offseason, the Mariners have some holes on this team that they need to address through either the avenue of trades or free agency. Today, I'm going to be looking at upgrading certain positions via free agency. It's not to say that this is the end-all be-all for upgrading at these positions. However, I only wanted to address free agency for now. The offseason hasn't even begun yet, so when it does, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Be early to getting all the news broken down to you as soon as we hear it to stay up to date with your Seattle Mariners. In free agency today, I'm going to be looking at upgrading the catcher position and the position of DH. Now, the Mariners had pretty solid production out of their catcher last year in Cal Raleigh. Now, upgrading this position, it's not necessarily supplanting the starter. It's going to be making sure that there's depth behind Cal Raleigh. We know that in the past we've had Tom Murphy back there, and the reason why we have to look to free agency to figure this out is because Tom Murphy is now a free agent. With that being said, our backup as it would stand is Brian O'Keefe, and Brian O'Keefe made some appearances in the MLB last year, but it wasn't overly successful. So in free agency, the first guy we're going to look to address the hole of missing Tom Murphy is Tom Murphy. So just bring him back. Bring the boy back. Tom Murphy, we know what he's capable of. We know what he's able to do. Last year, in the moments where he was playing, was dynamite. Look at this. A 142 down here. 142 OPS plus is unreal from your backup catcher in 47 games. Hits. He slashed 290, 335, 538 with an 873 OPS. Dude was just smashing the ball. There was moments last year where we were like, oh, maybe Tom, he needs to be the starter because Cal was going through some struggles. But we all know Cal Raleigh is the starter for this team. Now, the question is, of course, whether or not Tom Murphy is going to be healthy. He's had a pretty large injury history in his career, so maybe the Mariners should go a different route. Maybe they should not want to bring Tom Murphy back on like a 1-year, $6 million deal. Spot Rack has him at around $3 million, but I don't think that's accurate. I think he's going to ask for more than that, or maybe want more than that, because when he's healthy, dude is phenomenal. I'd be willing to give Tom Murphy $6 million for a 1-year deal. It's just going to be a 1-year, prove that he can be healthy. You've got Harry Ford waiting in the wings. But if you're not really wanting to run the risk of that injury again, same thing with Mitch Haniger. Didn't bring him back. Maybe it was because of injury history. Maybe you go to another avenue in the free agent market for catchers. And some guys that I picked out are Victor Caratini. Now, he's been a backup guy. Obviously, he's in Milwaukee, so they had William Contreras, who was one of the best catchers in baseball last year. Now, in 2023, he did put up .7 WAR, so, you know, a little bit less than Tom because he wasn't as successful. Played in a bit more games. In 62 games, he hit 259, 327, 383 with a 711, nice OPS, with a 95 OPS plus. So it is just a little bit below average there. However, I do believe that Victor Caratini, he could bring some decent value to the Mariners and be healthy, which is one of the biggest issues we've had with Tom Murphy. Now, one thing to note about Caratini is that he is a switch hitter just like Cal Raleigh, so he could provide a little bit of maybe extra utility in that regard. If you wanted to maybe give him a DH day or give Cal a DH day, you've got the ability to do that with Caratini. Obviously, it looks like he does hit better as a left-handed batter. Same thing as Cal, but it's an option there, right? So maybe it's not the best platoon split with Cal with, you know, giving him a day off, but overall, if he's healthy, it might be better than going with Tom Murphy and then end up with Brian O'Keefe as your catcher if Murphy cannot stay healthy. One other guy that I want to take a look at here was Eric Haas. He did not have a great 2023 season, elected free agency after he got outrighted by the Cleveland Guardians. And prior to that, in Detroit, in 2022, he's coming off a year with a 112 OPS plus in 110 games. 14 homers, 44 RBI, so it's not this insane amount of power, but it's 110 games. He was healthy. And in 2023, he played in 86 games for Detroit, but he did end up going to the Guardians. Well, it didn't really pan out for him. On the year, he had a 45 OPS plus, which is just, it's pretty abysmal. But Brian O'Keefe, for example, not trying to slander O'Keefe, but if we're trying to make upgrades at depth at the catcher position until Harry Ford is ready, O'Keefe had a 14 OPS plus in the limited opportunities that he got in 2023. It's good depth to have, but you can upgrade it very easily in free agency with any of these three guys, in my opinion. Like I mentioned, Tom Murphy, 1 year, $6 million. Caratini, maybe give him 2 years, similar amount of money, maybe $5 million a year, so 2 years, $10 million. Eric Haas, you can probably get him for a lot cheaper than that as well. But those are my 3 picks for upgrading our catching depth this offseason. We got 4.9 FWAR from our catchers in 2023. So if we can just kind of lighten the load on Cal. Maybe he'll be even healthier and more consistent throughout the year and get a little bit more production from our backups. Could be even better in 2024. And I mentioned the other position we're going to be taking a look at in this video is DH. Going to kind of lump the positions together where they see fit. So corner infield, corner outfield, etc. So DH didn't really have a spot because, well, you understand. So as far as upgrading the DH, there's several names to say here, where there's the big fish in the pond that you're looking at for DH, according to MLB trade rumors, that guys that will be free agents, obviously like JD Martinez, Justin Turner, if he decides to randomly decline his option at a 39-year-old player for whatever, right? So there's the obvious names that I don't really feel like I need to say because, well, the Mariners by design really haven't planned around just getting a strictly DH player ever. So any of the guys that we say over the next week, month, the rest of the offseason as potential free agent candidates to come to the Seattle Mariners, take that as you will with, they might DH a couple times because that's just how the Mariners run their day-to-day roster construction. So with that out of the way, I can't help but mention Shohei Ohtani's name. I mentioned I'm not going to say the big fish. Too bad. Shohei Ohtani's right there, right? I'm not going to go into his stats. You guys all know Shohei Ohtani. We're going to have to give him $1 trillion. That's the obvious biggest upgrade at DH that you can ever possibly get. Overall, our DH production was a 91 WRC plus in 2023 with a negative 1.0 WAR. From strictly a batting perspective, Shohei Ohtani put up a 6.6 F WAR with a 180 WRC plus. To put it in perspective, how much of an upgrade he'd be at DH for the Mariners. Now, again, this might be not the most realistic option because getting Shohei Ohtani, it's going to be pretty expensive, whether or not the Mariners are going to go that route. I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket because that is just, it doesn't seem like it's going to end very well for us if we have hopes that we're going to sign Shohei Ohtani. And you never know, maybe the Mariners want to continue to, retain it within the organization. Say they bring back Mike Ford. Mike Ford as a DH in 2023 was actually pretty solid after we got away from the, Cooper Hummels at the beginning of the year, the Tommy LaStellas and Sam Haggerty, Dylan Moore rotating door or whatever. In 83 games, he put up a 122 OPS plus, 16 homers, a 228, 323, 475, 798 slash. Mike Ford, it's not the sexy pick, not a bad looking guy. However, it's not Shohei Ohtani by any means. He can play first base, so he can give Ty France a day off if we need it to. But this is really holding down a position on your roster for pretty much a DH-only guy. And should the Mariners want to take that route again and maybe, I don't want to say lose a spot in roster control because the way that the Mariners like to organize their roster, they like to have a lot of moving parts. If they wanted to just run it back with Mike Ford, I don't really see that as like a terrible option. It could be worse, I think. Had we started last year with Mike Ford at the beginning, it might not have been as bad. And a guy, though, that I think would be an upgrade just in general because he doesn't strike out a ton, whereas Mike Ford was striking out a decent amount and would provide a bit more stability and a veteran presence, is Michael Brantley. Former Houston Astro from Bellevue, hometown boy, kind of. He's a free agent, and I think he would be a great addition to the Seattle Mariners roster. SpotRack has him at estimated around $9 million. If we give him 1 year, 10, he's 36, so he's probably only going to play 1 more year. Maybe he wants to finish out his career in Seattle. And he's going to be kind of fresh because in 2023, he only played in 15 games coming off of surgery. Same thing in 2022, only played 64 games. But his last full season, 2021, it was an all-star season, if you can't tell there. Hit 311, 362, 437, 799 with a 119 OPS plus. So Michael Brantley, we know his profile. He likes to put the bat on the ball. He's not going to hit a ton of home runs, but he will be a guy that makes a lot of contact and could be good to just be a DH rotating fourth outfielder guy for the Mariners and provide a bit more contact and stability because his career strikeout percentage is 10.7. Dude doesn't strike out. And his walk percentage, 7.9. It's not like JP Crawford's where it's in the 15%. But still, he's striking out a lot less than any of the other guys that I've said so far, especially Mike Ford. Ohtani even strikes out a ton, but I know his power will mitigate that, whereas Brantley's game is slapping the ball and getting on base. They're not perfect upgrades. But these are not necessarily the most dire positions for the Mariners to upgrade because, like I mentioned, you've got Cal at catcher, you're looking for depth. And for DH, there's not really a true DH ever on the Mariners unless you go out and get Shohei Ohtani. Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing to dream big, but we have seen some signs that maybe it's not the best idea to do so. And Colton has a video on the screen right now breaking down whether or not Shohei Ohtani is even fathomable for the Seattle Mariners. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this video on some certain positions that we should upgrade through free agency. We'll have plenty of more coming out through the rest of this offseason, so make sure you guys are subscribed. Again, thank you for watching, and go Mariners.